Thanks for joining us tonight on our coaching network. Tonight we have a great coach on, Brendan Smith. Brendan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm Brendan Smith. I'm currently the tight end coach at the University of Albany. I've been here for 5 years and look forward to talking some ball with you guys tonight.
Awesome. Brendan, why don't you just real quickly kind of explain how you got to Albany and kind of your path real quickly
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I was a D3 guy. I played at Western New England University in Springfield, Massachusetts. Uh, Kind of just emailed everybody in the country looking for help. I volunteered my first year here, and then they brought me on as the offensive assistant. It was a weird time during COVID. So we played that double season, and then when the spring came back around for that spring season, they brought me on as the offensive assistant. I worked with tight ends and O-line, and then been here since 2023 was when I fully got the in the spring is when I got the promotion to tight ends coach, and then now also recruiting coordinator as well.
Okay, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
I know I'm excited. Everybody else is excited to hear what you have for us tonight. So go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I mean, what I'm pretty much preaching here is creating advantages for your tight ends. And it could be just offensive scheme in general, right? The big thing this was kind of inspired through was we had really two good DNs here at Albany in 2023 when I first took over as a tight end coach, and blocking them on inside zone every time the C gap was a struggle at times. So we were just trying to figure out ways that we could put our guys in position to be successful, but then it also kind of leads to like the offensive structure as a whole. So, how can you create advantages for your players to be successful is really what it comes down to. So, as I go through that, like I said, I'm here at the University at Albany, um, and I'll talk a lot about our philosophy here as a group, not just through the tight ends, but as an offense as well. So, a quote that I saw last year from Ben Johnson, he took it from John Shoup too, and I think it resonates with us a lot. And we talk about it almost every week on a Sunday when we're trying to get into the game plan for the next week. Is we want the same things to look different and different things to look the same. Is how can you create something and then have a counter off of that, right? And obviously the play counter is a good one, but what I mean by that is create advantages through self scout, through other things that you would be looking to make adjustments off of, right? Whether it be uh, creating different alignments, motions, however you can to get those advantages. So here, our philosophy, right? We talk a lot about athletes and angles. So who are your best athletes and how can you get them in space, right? So whether that be a bubble or a post, right? However you can get your athletes in space um, to be successful, that's priority number one, right? And then number two is creating angles for them. Okay, so what I mean by that is trying to find successful ways not to force a guy to fit into a system, but create ways for him to be successful throughout that system. So a lot of what I'll talk tonight about is angles, and that kind of through the lens of the tight end. Okay, so
Awesome.
our alignments here kind of specified out off the ball. We're kind of a 2-by-1 feet off the tackle. All right, in line, we're about a foot away from the tackle, and this all kind of varies based on your system. And then we have an interior alignment where you kind of see a B gap sniffer, people will call it. And that'll just change depending on scheme, but it's a lot of times it's right between the guard and the tackle, kind of off the heels of the tackle. And we'll talk about that more as we get through here. Okay, and why I talk about this, it changes combos, changes look for the defense, right? So if you get a B gap sniffer look, and you're blocking interior D linemen, they're not used to taking on double teams from off levels, right? So that's one right there where you could create an advantage for yourself. Two, you're in a B gap, right? So now controlling the C gap's a little bit easier because it's easier to go downhill inside out. So another way to get a better angle for creating advantages there. And then it just kind of makes the offense more versatile. And then the more that you can change your motions, your alignments, the more you can open up for your offense as a whole. So some of the run schemes that I'll talk about right here, and this is kind of obviously a broad, covers a lot of bases here. So you got fan insert zone, inside zone. We do a little bit of outside zone with this stuff too, and then gap scheme. Okay, so what I mean by fan scheme is a half zone, half man. Okay, so your front side is your zone scheme, right? And you can see right here, we have a 3-for-3 combo on the front side. You got two man blocks, and the tight end's responsible for -1, right? So fan schemes allow you to block zone on one side, man on the other, right? So you're creating an insert with the tight end. And the cool part about this is you can go cross the bow of the center there with some slice insert, and then you can also go same side insert as well. Um, and then the cool one, which you'll see a lot of throughout this, is right here with the combo. Um, we worked this a lot, and this kind of came to fruition in 2023. Um, and we use it a little bit more this year as well, is creating that combo that I was just telling you about with the interior D lineman, creating off levels that they're not used to. So we've done it where you can fan zone it, right? So you're inserting for -1, whether it be from that side or kind of same side, right? Or we're comboing with the guard to the -1 here, right? And we have tags for everything and how we do that. That's up to your discretion on what you see how this fits best for your offense. Okay, so kind of talking about Indy and how I teach this as well. So I'm not just going to talk about the scheme itself, but kind of show you the process of how we do it, right? So here's the idea, right? The guard, we're right off his hip. We're simulating a center here. Obviously, your tackle would be here. Okay, this would be your G or your 2I, right? The inside shoulder of the guard. Okay, and then this is your linebacker. So all we're trying to simulate here is the combo block to get to that linebacker. So here, right, the 2I stays in that spot, so the guard takes him, right? And then the tight end squeezes space, right? I don't necessarily love that his hand is on the guard's butt, but he's squeezing space, and then it becomes almost like an ISO block right here. He's got low pad level. He's trying to strike him midpoint right up under the chin to create either hit this out the front side or hit it right behind him on a cutback, kind of riding the wave on the way back, right? And then the other one is right here, right? If you get that 2I spike, right? He spikes out. Now the tight end will take this thing over and the guard will go up to the backer. All right. Now the big thing with this, excuse me, the big thing with this is I don't really like how the guard's just tapping him here, right? He's got to rip through this inside shoulder, lift this guy, and then we should be doubling this thing, kind of like a duo combo you would do with your tackle, right? Except now it's with the guard. Okay. So I'd like for that guard to just kind of rip through that inside shoulder before he just leaves us alone on this 3 technique or spiking 2-3 technique. Um, but not a bad job there by the tight end. Okay. So here's a look at it from our practice, and I'll go straight to the the end zone copy here. Okay. So the front side, what we're trying to do is go 3-for-3 zone. Okay. The back side, we're in a combo here to this -1, if you will, right? This linebacker. Okay. He's manned up. He's our RPO threat. Okay. If they're playing man, we can obviously throw anything out there man wise, right? But we got to read this backer here. Okay. So here, as we go up through this, right, the guard does a much better job lifting up through this 3 technique. And you can see right here the lift it creates, right? Now, what I tell the tight ends is go find a rack of ribs. Okay. Go get a rack of barbecue ribs here, lift this thing up, get up underneath the shoulder. Okay. And drive them vertical. Okay. And you can see what this does, right? It's now creating a gap here and here. So what is he going to do, right? Is he playing the RPO threat? Is he playing this B gap? We'll figure it out, right? As he bails, you can see right here the wave that I was talking about that it creates, right? And it creates movement because that 3 technique's not used to getting off level combo blocked. Okay. So as we get through this, right, the different looks that we're going to create. So here, we're playing Iowa. Obviously, they're known for having good defensive linemen. All right. We create a motion over to that B gap. Okay. Now we get the 2I, the shade here. Okay. So we're still working our 3-for-3 combo on that front side, right? The zone side. This side is still your man side. But now that there's nobody in that B gap, right? There's no sniffer. We can ISO block this thing. So here, still squeeze space. Hit him under the chin. Right. Really good job here. His hands could be a little bit tighter, but you can see the wave that this thing creates, especially when the running back presses his aiming point. Right. Solid little run there. And if you have any questions, feel free to rip them out. I can't see anybody, so it's a little bit weird for me right now. Um,
No, no problem at all.
so here, now we're going to our fan scheme. Okay, so we just worked the combo, but now this one we're not working a combo. We're just working our zone to the front side, our man with our insert. Okay, so here we're working our combo. Okay, so the front side is going 3 for 3. Here's your ID. We're going zone here with these three. And then we're working our man blocks on the backside, and we are responsible for -1. So if this is our ID, here's our -1. All right, the big thing I tell these guys on this is make sure that you make contact on the other side of the line of scrimmage, right? So meet this guy at least +1, right? Preferably +2. These guys love just triggering downhill, right? We can't let them meet us at the line and make it tough for the back here. So here, you'll see the tight end, right? We're creating a good angle because now he's already inside out, right? He's reading this interior gap, right? So if this is open, he'll take it. With this guy spiking out, right? You can see how open it is. Hits this thing inside out +1. Good block. Puts us running back on a safety. All right. +3 on first down, +4 on first down. We'll take it every time.
Now let me ask you this: you showed some film at the beginning of your potted work.
Yep.
How often do you do that potted work in order to carry that over to your run segments and your team segments and obviously the game time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It does depend on how much stuff, like for that, that's a very specific kind of different run scheme, right? Where it's not like just your typical duo where the tight end and tackle are always working together. The guards and tight ends aren't often working together.
Right.
So for that one, on a game week, we're going to spend a little bit more time on it just because they're not used to that. So that's usually like a period or two where we'll take aside to just work that combo and just kind of give them as many looks as they can, looks that we're expecting, and then looks that, I mean, might be bad too, just so that way they can get the work for it.
Sure.
Now this one, I'll mix in a lot just because we've run it a lot. So, but this isn't necessarily a combo with a lineman. This is more of just a fold scheme for them. So I'll do a lot of this work here as well, where I'll set up bags and kind of either close off a spot. So I'll kind of simulate this guy, the interior D lineman on the opposite side of the center here.
Sure.
So I'll close off this gap where they would have to insert for this gap, right? Or I'll move to this gap where that they can see that gap.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So this is a great run scheme, especially if you're a big RPO team, which in 2023 we were a big RPO team for sure. 24 we were as well. This year we got into it a little bit as well. Obviously it's a big college, it's a big play in college football. All right, so here, same idea. The gaps are a little bit more defined, right? And you can see what I was talking about with the RPO, right? The quarterback's just reading space here, and he takes it. Good throw on catch, but we can check out the run here. So as we go through this thing, right? Guy walks up. We're still working our front side, our zone scheme, right? So we're out here, right? And it's really kind of 3 for 3 how it looks. Your man block, and we're folding for this guy. And like I said, we're trying to hit him at least +1. Here you can see it again, that A gap opens up because he spikes from a G or a 2I to a 3. Right. I'd love for the tight end to be tighter. This is the big thing that I always talk to them about is make sure you are tight to the center, expecting for him to disappear. All right. So right here, you can see he's a little bit wide for my liking, but he ends up right where he's got to be. Right. Now with this guy inserting, that creates kind of that RPO element of it, but we would still be okay because the running back will have 5 yards of space. And that's what we were talking about earlier is get your athletes in space. Trying to put a running back on a safety is really what you want to do all the time. Okay. So that's kind of the fold scheme combo element of it. Okay. So inside zone, like I said, kind of a lot of these ideas came off the fact of just inside zone right here, as you can see, kind of cutting this thing off. This is
Yes.
not the most ideal thing in the world. And any tight end in the world will tell you this, or offensive coordinator, tight end coach. Sometimes it could be the bane of your existence because those DNs really just force their way into the C gap. Um, So a good way to mix that up is creating a different alignment, right? So here's your B gap, A gap alignment, right? Where now you're inside out and you have a good angle on this DN. So you're not just necessarily trying to cut him off where he knows you're going, right? Now you're already inside out. You have performance alignment. Okay. So obviously, like it says here, inside zone schemes allow you to control the C gap. Okay. So here we're trying to control the backside C gap. This is not a readed play for us. It is just a handed off. Um, and let's get downhill. Okay. So here, and you'll see it here. He does a good job blocking this. Okay. So your typical inside zone, there's your mic or your ID. Okay. We're working our backside C gap combo, working this thing to the right. Okay. So he is responsible for the C gap. And the reason I always say that is because you're not responsible for a D end or the guy that's just kind of standing over there. You're responsible for the gap, right? And people move, people change. So make sure you're controlling your gap, not just a person standing there. Okay, so here you'll see it, right? He does a good job cutting him off, right? And he does enough just to create this gap here on the backside. You see the running back kind of works his way back through here, right? Ends up gaining about 6 or 7. But you realize on the backside, and any tight end coach will tell you this, and tight end, you work forever to get this look, right? And this, a lot of people would tell you is a stalemate. But for a tight end position, a lot of times a stalemate's a win, right?
Mm.
Because we can still cut back and kind of run through an arm tackle here. It is a very difficult block, but if you can control that C gap, you're going to win a lot of games. Okay, so here you can see he does a decent job, but how difficult it is for him to cut that off, right? Okay, so as we get to this next look, right, he's already kind of cheated his alignment. And this has nothing to do with me. This just has stuff to do with the fact that we kind of talked about this team in particular really likes to jam their head in the C gap. And a lot of times the DNs are just throwing their shoulder, throwing their face in there with maybe not necessarily technique, but kind of more force where the tight end has to play with a little bit more technique, right? Try to play a vertical game so that way we can cut this off. So he does a good job just knowing how this team plays from scouting them,
Yeah.
just kind of cutting his alignment here. Okay. And this isn't even a tag from us or anything. This is just him cutting his alignment. And you can see right there in his first 2 steps, he's already won, right? He's
Yep.
already won by alignment. Now, this is still a tough block because now he has to finish it, right? And he does in a sense, right? But it's still difficult. It's not the most easy thing in the world. He runs his feet, he's vertical, he's got a tight inside hand. I'd like for him to be a little bit lower. As you can see, he's losing the pad level game there. The DN's pressing into him a little bit. Right. But at the end of the day, I'd say he kind of wins the block because, again, we get for 6 or so yards, and this was a first down play as well. Okay. So now this is your perfect example, right? And this one, they're kind of jamming the box and they're showing their hand here. They're playing man. So we end up throwing it out wide, and the quarterback does a good job of reading that. But here we actually had that combo that I was telling you about earlier. We had that scheme on where the tight end was supposed to work with the guard and kind of work vertical, but then we changed it because they come out in a bear front. So here, this is a perfect example of why I love the B gap alignment. Right. So we changed it from the combo on the field. These guys did a really good job of controlling that. The quarterback did a good job of controlling that. Now your tight end is inside out. Right. Now look at that leverage. See how much easier that is for him? Now,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. Now I know he throws the ball out here, obviously, because they have an extra hat in the box here, right? So we're not just going to run it into a loaded box. But you can see in terms of leverage and what I'm talking about. And the key to this, right, is a lot of guys, and you have to talk to the tight ends about this, they get kind of antsy about getting out to block that D end. I don't want this guy flying out here, right? It's not a kill shot. We want to get in good position first. Don't lose your leverage, okay? A lot of times they'll get antsy and they'll try to run out here, and that's when you catch the wrong arm from a D end and you get in a spot where you don't want to be. Here, right, you can see he delays with that right foot first, a little timing step, right? He's squeezing space off the tackle and he's inside out, right? That's winning leverage all day. And
Nice.
you'll see it from this end zone copy here. Like look how much easier that is. Right. And then now right here the block begins, right? There's a lot of space in there. Now, like I said, they have an extra hat in the box. You don't want to run it into that. But they're playing some sort of zone where he's out of the box. That's a pretty solid place to run the
Yeah.
football, right?
All
And
right, I got a question for you. You ready for this?
I think so.
So you had talked at the very beginning
Yep.
about, your self scout and your scouting to figure out what you guys are either better at or prefer to run and want to run based on alignments. Talk a little bit about the scouting that you do, not only self scout but also going into game week to determine which alignments you're going to utilize throughout the game.
Yeah, yeah. So for depending on scheme, obviously, and what we're running is a big thing. What we feel really comfortable about. Um, like I said, like you just said, actually, the self scout is a big thing and how you can show your hand and then change it. But the big thing in what I'm looking at kind of from week to week is a D line or D ends really, because that's kind of the guy we're comboing the most or blocking the most is kind of the technique that they're playing. Are they a big team where they're just trying to play that six technique and control you, head up and try to get their hands on you? Are they aligned in a tight five where they're just trying to pierce the C gap, right? Is this a team where they're playing in a nine technique and they do a lot of spiking across your face? Um, so that's kind of more of the things I'm looking at. And then the other thing too is sometimes D linemen will give away their tells and what they're doing based on their stance. I tell my guys all the time, like, guys, you can't just be giving away your hand by being tight when you know you're controlling the C gap or off the ball when we're working split zone. But D line will give you that too, right? That square stance versus that sprinter stance where sometimes they'll have a cocked alignment with their shoulders piercing that C gap. You kind of know where they're going, right? And that one clip that I was telling you about where he cuts his split, that team was known for just jamming their face in there and they didn't care what was going on. They're just trying to smash that tackle down and kind of close a gap with one guy. Um, so it was a big deal for us that week to kind of cheat our alignment a little bit, so that way it gave us an advantage ahead of time. And sometimes, cheating your alignment, it doesn't necessarily give anything away because you could split zone back across, right? You could run a flat route to the right. There's a lot of things you can still do off of that. And I've gotten a lot of conversations about a lot of this B gap alignment and A gap alignment here um, what you can do and what you can't do out of it. I haven't seen anything that we can't do out of it, and I'll talk a lot more about it as we get through here. But I think your whole offense is open just because you're in the A gap or B gap. It doesn't really give anything away.
Okay.
Does that answer anything there?
Absolutely. That was great.
Okay. Um, so getting into split zone here, I love split zone. I think it's a great way, again to put your guy in a good alignment to be inside out. Okay, a lot of DNs and D line coaches are teaching to those DNs to kind of hide behind tackles now, which does make it a little bit hairy. Um, but I still like it because I think coming across the bow of the center is a lot easier than trying to run and chase them down and get vertical. So it's a variation with a slice to cut off that backside C gap without having to actually cut them off in terms of running to beat him to a spot. You're already kind of in that spot. Okay. And I know some of this looks crazy up here because a lot of times this is your 99% teams are running split zone like this, but we have run inline split zone. Okay, we have opened up that can of worms, and we will do same side either inside zone or split zone, where he can work back either way. So that B gap alignment kind of does help you with a lot of things there, and not giving your tell of which way you're going, because you could run inside zone, you could run split zone, you could run your combos. Um, so it's not really giving away a tell of like, hey, we're just running that one combo with the guard. We're doing a little different, a
Yeah.
couple different things. Okay, and then just some indie here. Right. I'm a big proponent of working landmarks, right? So the reason I do this and I set it up this way, a lot of times I'll use the sideline as well, but just using lines to kind of see how they work downhill, trying to hit this inside out here, right? I learned when I was first getting here, I was a quarterback. The tight end coach here called it the gorilla touch, where big gorillas kind of just run into the things with their shoulder. And that was his way of saying same foot, same shoulder. So I've used that a lot as well. Um, and here you can see it, the gorilla touch, same foot, same shoulder. His hat placement is right inside on that upfield shoulder. And then here, a lot of people think that the job is done, but it's not. It's you still got to get to that upfield shoulder, get the hands to the chest and drive, right? So you can see how he keeps that inside leverage, right? He's driving through them. And not only is he just popping and letting him go, right? He's staying with it and controlling it. Okay, that's a good drive there, right? Same thing here. Good pop, same foot, same shoulder. He creates the lift, gets his hands back, and you can see how quickly the transition is from shoulder to hands, right? And then he keeps that inside leverage. A lot of times the DNs will try to play over the top of you here, right? Don't allow him to play back over the top. Okay, and here we're working a split zone back across. Okay, so we're responsible for this backside C gap here. Okay, track this thing downhill, aiming for the tackle's inside hip. So as the tackle disappears, right, you want to squeeze space, squeeze space, squeeze space. Okay, so right here you can see that transition to get back downhill. He squeezes all the space out of it. Same foot, same shoulder, right? Now this is what we want, a safety inserting, right? But you still got a lot of space for your athletes to go to work, right? One little move here turns a 5 yard run into a 15 plus explosive. Now, the one thing I will say is I wish the tight end stayed on this, like I was talking about in the individual drills there, right? Continue this block, and you can see right here who makes the tackle. That guy, right? And it's funny too, because a lot of times we'll talk about it, and the tight ends will be like, "Hey, we had an explosive run there." Yeah, that's not good enough, right? I don't care about explosive runs. I don't care about 15 yards. I want touchdowns. Okay, so this could be the difference of scoring a touchdown, right? Maybe he breaks this one extra tackle, finish the block. Okay, so here you can see it from the end zone view, downhill, squeezes space, and right there you have a good angle for your tight end inside out, right? And it creates a clean running room for your running back. That's a very clean gap there for him, right? And he makes the rest work, right? Running backs got to get paid too. Okay, and here's a great example of what I talk about when I say control the C gap, right? I talk to these guys all the time about this, is don't just run out for a guy, right? Especially versus these 3 down teams. Run to the hip, the inside hip of this tackle, because when the space clears, someone will be there, right? The defense is not dumb. They have to control their gaps. A lot of times you catch a team outside their gaps, right? And that's when you get those splitters, but the defense is not trying to just run out of gaps. Okay, so here you'll see a perfect example of this, right? The Delaware here is running an All-American blitz, as a lot of teams call it, or the NCAA blitz. Okay, they're bringing 2 off the side, or 4 off side really, but 2 linebackers here. Okay, he could have easily seen this guy and been like, "Oh, I have this guy. I'm gonna go hit him," right? But what we talk about all the time is still chase the tackle's butt, right? His near hip. Something will show up, right? Something did show up. Okay, finish the block. You'll see it right here from this end zone view a little bit cleaner. All right, split zone. Coming back across. I'd like for his pad level to be a little bit lower, but you can see same foot, same shoulder, right? Gets his hands back to the drive phase. Good crease here between the tackle and tight end, right? But the play is not over. Run your feet, right? And he does a really good job here transitioning. He's got his hands nice and tight. He's got inside leverage there with his hands. He runs his feet, pancake. All right, that's a good finish to a block. That creates more of a run gap. That's a really good job there. Okay, here's kind of what I was talking about earlier and why I think that you can open up the whole playbook. We motion this guy into the B gap, right? Now, what we were talking about earlier with our self scout is, hey, we did a lot of stuff with the combos. What are we looking at from them? How can we get them to align a certain way? Well, here, right, I showed you earlier, we've run inside zone this way. We've run the combo with the guard here, right, off that fan scheme. But we can also just run split zone back across this way, right? So you have 3 plays right there where your playbook's kind of open to do whatever you want. All right, so you'll see here, chase the tackle's hip. Tackle does a good job leaning through this with the backer going over the top, and you can see, look at this, right down the hash, right where you want it. Okay, and The cool part about this one and why I like the B gap stuff a lot better is you're already a gap inside, right? So now for the running back, his vision is not cloudy, right? He doesn't see a bunch of stuff clearing across his face. This thing hits real quick, right? By the time the running back has the ball, the tight end's already almost making contact right here by the time he gets out of the mesh, right? So it hits a lot quicker too, right? And that's kind of the advantage that you get here, where you don't have to run all the way across. This DN doesn't even really see it till now, and we're there. Okay, and that's a good finish to the block. He stays inside out, finishes the block. Okay, now here's the other one where this one is a little bit tougher just because um, it does make it a little bit cloudier. The running back does have to have a little bit more patience, but this is an example of learning your self scout, understanding who you are as an offense and how you can change it. Okay, so here we're working the inside zone, split zone here, um, just through Indy, and I set up a bag here to kind of be like a tackle. And the reason I like to use the sideline here is because I can cheat it as a coach. Okay. I'm trying to cheat my visuals so that way I can coach these guys up the best they can. I can see his drop step because he clears from green to white. Right. Does that make sense? So here he's in, his heels are in the green. He clears to the white. I can see that it's a good drop step. And then I can see him then transition from the white to the green. So I know he's working back downhill. Okay. And on this one, we weren't really trying to kill each other with contact. This is more just trying to find the landmark here. And you can see it right there. He's inside out. That's really where I want him to be. Okay, so
That's really good coaching point right there. Using that sideline to your advantage to help out. That's good stuff.
yeah, I call it cheating coaching almost. You got to find ways to help yourself kind of identify ways to help them. So that was kind of one of my things that I've always done, partially because that's our spot in Indy, but um, you can see right here how much easier it is for me back here to see this. So he hits this thing inside out, and then you can see right here, this is just a good drive. It's not the most physical thing. Like I said, we're down to 3 guys here. This is later in the season, but we're really just working the landmarks. Okay, so here, perfect clip of it. Okay, we had a huge tendency when the back was away, right? So your gun weak here from the tight end, to run mid zone to this sideline. Okay, so we were running a lot of mid zone to the nub. We had RPOs up to the top of the screen here. But then we came up with this idea to kind of switch it up. So here, right, you can see that drop step. The tackle is working out there. So this is Indy showing up on tape. Don't run Indy. The Indy should look like the tape. Don't just run drills to run drills. Run drills that apply to games. Okay, so here you can see him lose ground to gain ground, right? Look how quickly he transitions from taking that drop step to getting back downhill. Boom. Right now the running back is patient, sees it, shoots out of a cannon. There's your gap. Okay, and then watching this from the tight is great too. How many times has a D end been on this side thinking there's a tight end in line away from me and he's going to come hit me? Not a lot, right? He's thinking, hey, I'm in zone read element. Okay, who do I have? QB or running back? All right, looks like he's trying to play the QB a little bit here. All right, now we're inside out, right where we want to be. Okay, and this is all just because Self Scout told us, hey, we run mid zone, mid zone, mid zone, and I was like, hey, maybe we should run split zone the other way. That would kind of just create a little difference, right? And this is exactly what you get out of it if you trust it.
No, that's good right there.
Yeah. All right, so that's kind of my zone stuff. That we'll get more kind of into gap here, and a lot of teams are running duo, and this is a lot similar to inside zone, right? We're just kind of changing the aiming point of the back. So, uh, really, at the end of the day, a lot of people say inside zone or duo. Is that inside zone or duo? Um, right? It's really the same thing. It's really just where's the back's aiming point, right? You could almost ID it the exact same as well. Okay, so duo allows us to create firm double teams, right? Trying to kind of create a puncture. You're downhill to bounce. And then here, like I said, since it is similar to inside zone, sometimes there's different ways that you can run duo to create advantages for your tight end. So here, your typical duo, okay? You're off the ball. We're 3-by-1 here, okay? You're basically just working your true C gap cutoff, just like you would in inside zone, right? But now we're attacking the front side of this. Okay. Here, tight end does a solid job, right? He could be lower, a little bit tighter with his elbow here, right? Sewn to his jersey, trying to keep that thing tight. But you can see this is still a tough block, right? Controlling that gap is still tough. He does an okay job. We might be able to hit this thing here tight. The running back does a good job here of getting that outside linebacker to buy it. And like I said, it should be a puncture to bounce, right? Running back trusts his speed, gets outside. Okay. Like I said, tough block for the tight end. He does a decent job covering that guy up, but it's still not ideal. Okay. It's really good versus 3 down, though. Right. Duo is really good versus 3 down. So in this case, it'll put us on a backer. So our combo at the tackle here, right? You're in line here, squeeze space, try to see if you can catch a hip. That hip disappears. I work up to my backer. All right. I control my backer, and the running back makes the rest work. Okay. We're putting our running back in space. Okay. So that's your typical duo. You're in line, staying the same side versus your off the ball, working same side. Here, okay, this is something that we did and we change from week to week, and you'll see this here and even year to year, and sometimes play to play depending on who we're playing that week. Sometimes I'll let them have the freedom to make a call here. Okay, so this week we knew that this was more of a backer as an overhang than a D end. So he was trying to keep that C gap. Here he actually ends up, or D gap rather. Here he ends up piercing it a little bit, but we're actually running what we call split duo, right? So it's that split across with the duo scheme, right, to that 3-man surface. So here we're having the tight end on the front side gap it down to see if there's any spiking ends or spiking interior D lineman. And then he's going to work to this front side backer. Okay. This guy's going to split across to create a firm edge for this running back. Okay. Here, the down tight end doesn't do a great job, but you can see right here the angle that the tight end from the off the ball alignment has. Right. And it is tough because you're on the same side, whereas zone, you kind of work away from it. But here, he could cheat his alignment a little bit more up top to get there a little bit quicker. Right. But you can see right here, look at the firm edge that this creates. Right. Running back shoots out of a cannon. I'd like the inside tight end or the inline tight end rather to be a little bit more physical on this next block. He's kind of tiptoeing to the second level. But again, like that's a 2nd and 7 call, and we're getting first downs. Okay. Here, the inline tight end has to worry a lot. And the reason we did a lot of this split stuff too was this team was a big change from 4 down to 3 down. So we knew that we had potential of this spike. So he's going to check that first, work to this 55 here, and then we get that split duo rather, working across. Boom. Right. And you can see the speed in which that hits and the gap that creates. Right. And now on the contrary to that, okay, so here we're kind of in a backed up situation. We don't want this guy running straight downhill. And you can see by his alignment, we talked about this earlier, right? Kind of reading the defense's feet here, right? If you look at his feet, you would think, hey, he's in a sprinter stance. He's probably going to try to go take anything off the edge here, right? So here, what we changed up is, hey, we're going to own this thing on the front side. We're going to man block this. And now we will fold this coming through with the other tight end. So it is the same exact scheme. We are now just changing it on a different week versus a different team versus a different scheme. Okay. Now this one's a big hitter. Okay. And I like this one a lot more probably too than the split one, just because now you know for a fact that that edge is secure. Okay. So here we end up folding that tight end up and through. There's your gap. And off to the races he goes. Right. The funny part about this, actually, this clip is it was the first play of the game, and we were backed up, and we were going to take a shot to start the game, and then we didn't because we were backed up. But I guess that was our shot right there. So here,
Great way to start a game, boy.
yeah, it makes it a lot easier. The offensive coordinator was definitely happy about it. I can guarantee you that. So here, right? You can see them communicating to each other. And I'm not going to give anything away here because we change up how we communicate stuff anyway. And this was a couple years ago, but you can see he gives them a little inside tap. The tight ends are communicating to each other. Hey, I'm not going to cut off the C gap here. We got a 9 technique. I'm going to just block out and you're going to be folding up and through. Great job by the running back, right? He's pressing his aiming point. He gets downhill. He gets the backers to buy it. Tight end sneaking through, and he's got the running back's got good patience. Hits this right behind the tight end, and we're out. Right. The boys are all happy. That's always a good day when you can start off like that. Okay, so that's 2 different ways that you can do it out of 12 personnel by alignment. Now, this stuff, this I think some people thought we were a little bit crazy for this. But when we did this trade and we do these motions like this, we had a huge tendency of running outside zone to that direction, especially when we had pistol, right? So a lot of teams thought we would be running this way, right? You can see that they have to create a different strength based on that trade, right? You can see the defense adjust. Okay. We're still running a duo scheme off of this. Okay. A lot of people would call this YY counter, but we really just kept it the same as duo. We just tagged it a different way for the tight ends. Okay. We do a lot of different tags for the tight ends. So here, same exact scheme. We just now do it a different way. So you get your split there, create an edge, and now you got your tight end pulling through here as well. Boom, hit it down the A gap or E gap probably there. Okay. So here, seeing it from the tight, right? And this is why I always say know your self scout, know what you do, and then change it up. Okay. So knowing that we were running outside zone, knowing that we were running split zone out of 12P out of this, now you can see, hey, let's change this up. So we get that inside technique here. He is cheated his alignment. We had talked about this during the week. This is a tag per the call. Okay. So here it makes it so that way he can get across there in time. You can see the angles that they have on these back blocks here are great. The defense is structured to have support to the front side here and what they think would be outside zone based on our tendency. And then we run duo, which is really just a YY counter coming back the other way. And we got good leverage because we're inside out. Right. And a lot of people talk about it. Well, how do you get the tight ends to pull from in line like this? Like, why do you pull them in from in line? Well, dart schemes are the same way. You're pulling the tackle, right? And in theory, the tight end should be more athletic than a tackle. So why not let the tackle block the big people and let the tight ends be athletic in space?
Makes sense.
Right. So here we're trying to let the tight ends be athletes. Inside out, I'd love for this to be a little bit more physically, kind of misses on that block a little bit, but he does just enough. The next tight end does a good job staying tight on his pull. He's inside out. Right there, we're hitting it down the hash. Okay. And then another way to get to it, right? Like we talked about from that first clip, we want different things to look the same and same things to look different, right? So this is the exact same call, right? But now we are in 13 personnel. So we got the tight end here, tight end here, tight end here. Okay. Now we're doing the exact same thing, except now we have an extra secure guy on the back side here, the tight end at the top of the screen in line here, just because down by the goal line, right? Those guys are going to be burning off the edges. So why not create a wider edge with it? Okay. Tight end motioning in, hits it inside out. Tight end from the fullback position does a good job delaying. And again, it is the exact same call. We are just running duo, but tagging the tight ends to make it look more like a counter. Right. Good job by the tackle here on the play side, hitting the hip, right? Creates a firm double, creates a hard edge. Receiver's doing a really good job getting up to the safety. And then you can see it right here with the tight end being downhill, inside out. Would love for him to be a little bit lower, right? But great job by the off the ball tight end with his jab, patience, showing up on a guy and a touchdown. Right? Great finish to a drive. Okay. Is that all making sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So and you can see what I'm talking about here is it's not necessarily just, hey, can I jam my head in the C gap and keep banging my head against the wall to try to get these guys to just do a job? how can I make their job easier? That's my job as a coach, to make you the most successful guy you can be, but not having you to have to do something that you can't do, right?
Yep.
It's our job for everything, is to really to create those angles, like I said, inside out, however you can do it, right? And then that puts those running backs and athletes in space. So here, you got power. Okay. There's a lot of different ways to run power. We've run it with fullbacks. We've run it with tight ends. Um, we've run a one back power, two back power, anything that you can think of. Unfortunately, we had injuries to our fullbacks earlier in the season, so it kind of took away from our run game. And a lot of things that we were expecting to do, we didn't end up doing. But here, there's some camp footage as well. So going through this power, we're obviously adding a gap to the front side, working with a double team, working the backside. And then as a tight end, we were trying to control that C gap or D gap, and then potentially working back to a backside linebacker. Okay, so here, back to what I'm talking about. Okay, you're in your typical 11 personnel set, one back power, right? You got your tight end in line here, and this is your typical power set. You're inside out, just trying to work a man block. And again, this is what I'm saying is this is difficult block. He doesn't do the greatest job, but he does enough to be inside out. He battles with this guy, does a good job right here with a chop replace. He's inside out. He snatches him up right here, and you can see the run game. Okay. But I can't say that he's going to win this block every time because, like we talked about earlier, DNs sometimes will cross face. They'll try to jam you back into the gap. Sometimes they're just going to play right through your face. So it isn't the easiest block in the world. However, he does a good job at it. Okay. This is a good run. Okay. But we got to find different ways to run it. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, too. We had two really good DNs. And this is kind of what inspired me of trying to come up with different creative ways to find a run game without just trying to cut this guy off. These two guys were really good. I think they might have been some sort of All-American honors, right? So not only with alignments, but with motions, right? You don't even see the tight end on the screen. We're running power to the left here. Okay, so here we go. We motion them in. And how about that for leverage? Right, inside out. Boom. It's a different way, and it's a little bit chaotic and creative. We were a little bit nervous of the traffic issue, but it ended up working out for us. We did run this multiple times. But you can see right here, right? Instead of trying to man block this guy or own this guy one-on-one, now we have the leverage that we want, just like we were talking about the split zone, chasing the tackle's hip, squeezing space. We're inside out where we want to be.
Yep.
All right. And then that puts us again. Obviously, the double team's falling off here, but ideally that puts you on the safety. And this is just kind of an inside run period that we were working in camp. Okay. So different ways to do it. Okay. Here's a fullback. And this goes to whether you have a fullback or if you're just going to work this out of 12 personnel as well. Really, what we were working here is if you get a 9 technique, we're going to work a kick out. Okay. If you got that interior 7 or 6, this tight end will own it and he'll kick out anything off the butt. Here we get that 9 technique. So the tight end should work back here. We should be pulling for this guy. Tight end ends up on this guy. The guard and him kind of pizza this thing out. We call it the pizza theory. If someone takes your slice, take theirs. Okay. So here, great job by the fullback going downhill, being inside out. There's your kick out. Great leverage, right? Great leverage. Inside out, running back and hit it down the A gap. And that's where you want to be. Okay. Here's another example at it during camp. This might have been during a spring scrimmage. Okay. Now we have that 7 technique. Okay. So it's not really ideal for him to hit this just based on where the guard is pulling as well. So what we'll do is wall this thing up, create that hard edge with anything off the butt, and really we want to hit this thing downhill through the A gap and then potentially bounce it out depending on where the guard goes. Here, the running back is a little bit wide, but you can see it right here. Great job by the inline tight end. Drop, step in, and go. I'd like for his elbow to be even tighter on this, but he does a great job with his hat placement. He's up and under. Great pad level. Okay, the fullback is working tight off that guy's butt. They both do an awesome job here of being inside out on an A gap play. And then not only that, it's a great finish by the inline guy, causing havoc.
That's good right there.
Yeah, causing havoc. That's what we want to do. Okay. And then kind of now more towards the game. Like I said, we had fullbacks and we kind of lost them as the season went on due to injury. So we had to kind of come up with a creative way to do it. Okay. So, like I said, there's alignment, but then there's also motions. Okay. So here we call this our spin motion. Okay. This is a great way to create leverage. You're spinning. I'd like for him to set up a little bit more right here rather than just kind of running out, but you can see what happens. Inside leverage, hitting it down the A gap. And he doesn't even do the greatest job on this thing. You'll see it right here. This is a young buck, redshirt sophomore. This is probably the third game he's ever played in college. Right here. I'd love for him to just settle up right there. Just calm down, calm his feet down, kind of what we were talking about earlier with patience. Be patient, be inside out on that shoulder. Right. And right here you can see 84. It's not a killer block by any means, but he gets the job done based on his alignment. And like I said, he was a young buck then. So we were trying to find out different ways to get him involved in the game plan where he didn't have to just cut things off and try to man block people all the time with bad leverage. We were trying to find the best leverage for him where he could be successful. And right here, he does a pretty good job at it, even though he is falling down late. Right, running down the A gap. Now here, same idea. Okay, we're creating a spin motion. Okay, now here, we change it up. And this is something that I allow them to do as long as they're communicating it. Okay. So we had the 9 technique out here before. We spin in order to create that performance alignment, we call it. Right. So before you saw him settle up right here. So that way he could kick out the 9 technique. But now there is no 9 technique, right? Now we got that 7 technique, that inside shoulder, whatever you want to call it, 7, 6, 6-eye, whatever anyone's calling it nowadays. He's going to settle up outside of it. Okay. So now what we're trying to do is wash this whole thing down. Okay. And then now the guard will end up kicking out anything off the edge. Okay. Tight end inline does a decent job creating a little bit of movement. Right. And now it's really easy for 84 here. You can see, look at the leverage that he has on this down block. So this is more of kind of going to end up, you're forcing a C gap power, really, is what you're doing. And I'd love for this thing to hit a little bit more downhill running back with a little bit more patience. You can see right here, I'd love for him to just take that gap. He ends up getting widened out a little bit. But right there, you can see, let's jump cut and let's go hit this thing right downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Create that hard edge.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all just based on alignment. This is the exact same call that I just showed you a second ago, but we had the 9 technique before. We just created that spin motion in our play call. And they do the rest, right? It's built in, we ingrain it. I give them rules to fall back on. So that way, if anything crazy happens, they can always fall back to their rules.
That's good stuff.
Right. Obviously, we'd like to score there. That's a good play by our defense. Okay. Counter. Okay. So counter is obviously a great way to give your tight ends an advantage, right? Because it doesn't put them on a D end, it puts them usually on a linebacker. Okay. So it puts them in space, allows them to go do their thing. Okay. Counter is a good complement to a strong side run, right? Defense is overload one side, counter the opposite way. Hence the word counter. Okay. Right here, we're pulling for the ID. A lot of teams will they'll ID this guy, right? Where they can pull for here. We usually ID who we're pulling for. Okay. We didn't do much of the B gap alignment for this just because we didn't have a center that could pull at the time. But if you have a center that can pull, this is a quick way to hit one right down the A gap. Okay. We have done the inline stuff and we definitely do the off ball counter. Okay. So perfect example here, off ball counter. What I talk to them about, just teaching points in general, are we look through the guard. Okay. So we cheat it by looking through the guard. A lot of people will just tell you, read the guard's butt, right? Well, what happens when the guard's making contact and then all of a sudden logs last second? What are you going to do then, right? When you're too close to him. And a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you jab step create? There's a lot of traffic issues that can be caused. Now, yes, we do want to look at the guard's butt. What I try to tell them to do to cheat this is to look through the guard. Okay. Are we playing a guy? I use 2 words on defense Are we playing a guy who's trying to hammer this thing or wrong arm this thing, right? Does he look like he's surfing or is he giving you that wrong arm? Okay, so here, if you look at the top of the screen here, the D end, it's tough to see, but he's giving you that wrong arm, okay, which is going to create a log. Here we're pulling the center. That just tells you, hey, this thing's going to get logged. I know it. I can then now make a plan to get around this thing before it even happens. Okay. And then you can see right here, tight end does a great job keeping it tight, keeps his eyes inside for anything scraping across. Boom. Good run. Productive run. Okay. Right here, watch at the end. He plays the tackle's shoulder, immediately squeezing down the gap. Tight end loops around it. I'd like for him again to be a little bit tighter with his hands. You can see his hand kind of pop up on the backside of the jersey here. Would love for that elbow to be tighter so that he can strike it in the armpit. All right, but that's a good job. Okay. Now the opposite of that, we actually motion this guy in here. It cuts out. We motion him in here to create the front that we want. Right. With the 2x2 detached stuff, sometimes you can create a front. Teams have tells towards that. Right here, you can see it. Okay, we're surfing USA right here. You can see that he's surfing, right? He's going to end up hammering this thing back inside. My plan is to now be, instead of being outside this, where I'm reading that log, I should be tighter to this, so that way I can see any scraper of the back. Okay, look how tight he is to the guard and center. He's touching them, squeezing space. And that's a good run gap for the running back there. Okay, so two of the same call, the two different looks that you'll get for it. Okay, here's it from the tight, working our combos back. Good kick out here actually by the guard. And now we're inside out here. Really good job. Counter is always a good play, whether you're creating angles or not, for the tight end. Ends up on the linebacker. Okay, now the inline counter. Okay, and I put this on here just so that way, if you want to learn how to teach it, or if anyone's watching this wants to know how we teach it, I've done it a couple different ways, but same idea here with the bag, right? Like we did with the inline split zone. And then now I'm just the guard center working my combo back. Sometimes I'll use different guys there, or I'll use a bag to make sure they're tight. But here I want to see them drop step, and I want to see them right off my hip to be inside out of this thing. Okay, squeezing space. His shoulder pads brush basically my traps or scaps, whatever's on my back there. And now he's inside out and creates a drive. All right, and you can see right here, he does a good job not only just driving, but turns him out. So that way we can hit this where we really want to, right down the A gap. Okay, here's another look at it, different guy. Drop stepping. Really good job pushing off his instep, right? Right there, load up your weight. You know where you're going. Drop step and press off of that. Sometimes I'll see guys where they'll drop step here, then they'll drop step and then go. No, we want to drop step all in one full swoop and get going. So you can see there's no wasted movement there. Drop step and go. And not only that, he's pressing now off that left foot, that now inside of his foot, working vertical back this way. Okay. Now, people are probably wondering, well, why are you so into inline counter? What we talked about earlier, would you rather pull like a tackle or a guard, right? So same thing as like your GT counter, right? It's kind of the same idea, right? But now you have an inline tight end, and it changes to your tendencies. So right here, like I said earlier, we were doing a lot of mid zone to the nub. So a lot of teams will keep the two hats on the backside. Your pass game's open that way. And then the other thing is when you play zone teams, right? A lot of times this formation here, this nub formation, they'll tell you a lot about their defense, right? In a nub formation, are we going to apex our Mike? Are we going to put him outside the box and play zone, right? Are we going to keep the Mike inside the box, kind of bring a guy down and play man? This nub set is usually the first set we watch when we're scouting teams, just because they'll tell you kind of who they are, right? So here, we knew that they were going to apex their Mike. All right. So now here, tight end, drop, step, and go. He's inside out of that Mike. The receiver does actually a good job of going to dig this guy out. That's not his guy, but he ends up getting in there, right? And you can see the angle that it creates for the tight end, right? So you got that Mike apexed. Okay. That's the guy we're pulling for. Your double teams are working back, your single, your back block, and you got a good hinge back here with the 9 technique. Okay. The big thing with this, and that's why I put the pad there and we work that stuff in Indy, is making sure that he drop steps enough to get around this hinge. Okay, so you can see right here, he drop steps. He actually almost releases this thing like it's a release, so that way he doesn't hit the tackle, brushes by him. Okay. Now right here, he should see that mesh charge, get tight to this double team, so that way he can be inside out on this Mike. Right. And he is. Okay. Ideally, we want this receiver to be blocking here, so that way we can get out to the races. Right. But at the end of the day, successful run. We'll take it. Okay. Same thing here. Now they got 2 guys in the box. Made me really nervous. Okay. But they bump them out late. It creates good leverage. Okay. So you'll see it right here from the end zone view. The mic bumps out. Okay. And that tells us right now we're going to have really good leverage being inside out on this rather than trying to pull this thing tight and get back up through here. Okay. So by formation, we've created this knowing what they're going to do. Okay. There's your firm double working back. Good job by the tackle with his feet there. He's got good feet getting up to the second level. Guard sees this guy surfing, right? After we get around this hinge, we see this guy surfing, trying to hammer everything back inside. We know we're going to be able to pull up and through. He's tight to this interior lineman, and now he can be inside out on the mic. All right. That's everything you want in a football play right there. Okay. Now we got the backside safety trying to make a play at 5-6 yards. Will be okay. All right. That's a successful run. Now the running back actually does a little extra, keeps his feet on this spin move, and makes it an even better run. Okay. Now, how to even change that up more, right? So we talked about the inline, we talked about regular counter. Well, we also worked same side counter. Okay. So this is a different way to change up your tendencies of how you're running things. Okay. So they can't just say gun weak, gun strong. They're going to do this, right? When our running backs away from the tight end or to the tight end, we might be doing something different. Okay. So here we're working a same side counter in individual drills. Okay. I'm simulating the guard. Okay. The guard is pulling this way. We are going to cross face of the guard. And once we get past the guard, once that right foot comes on the ground, we're then going to insert ourselves through the gap. Okay. So it'll be a lot easier when I kind of show this, but the game clips of it. But watching this first will give you a good indication of what we're trying to do. Inside out, under the chin, same exact coaching points that I'd give on regular counter, except now when you cross the guard, you can see right here, he crosses the guard. Once that interior foot gets in the ground, I then chase it back upfield. Boom. I'm working back vertical. Okay. That's a good job there with his landmark. And then here's the game clips of it. Okay. So what you saw before with us pulling from inline counter and running the same side counter with the gun weak, now we've changed it up. We're going to run counter back this way. Okay. So here we're going to have this guard pull here for here. Once we cross his face, right, we're going to follow it back up and through for this. Okay. So here, boom, crosses the guard, right foot's in the ground. I'm getting vertical, right? I have great leverage now for this backer. Now I'm inside out, right? And you can see how that can create chaos for teams, especially when you create motions off of this. Because now which way are they running counter? They're not just running counter away from their tight end to the opposite side, the field side here. They can run it back to the boundary. Right. And I'd love the running back to keep his feet here. He kind of gets tripped up. Right. But you can see the run right there. We hit this thing right downhill. We got a good run. Okay. Still a gain of 4 on first down. We'll take it. Okay. Here, this one was from a couple years ago. All right. We get in a pistol. like I said, we had a big tendency to run outside zone out of pistol. All right, so they might be thinking, hey, we're running outside zone this way. We're working our cutoff scheme on the backside. Nope, we're running counter back to our boundary. Right here, pretty easy to see the DN playing upfield. They're bringing pressure to the front side. All right, would love that receiver to hit a little bit more of this. All right, but watch the tight end. Cross the guard, right foot in the ground. Great job staying low, striking upward to that chest with tight elbows, staying attached, running my feet. Right, and it creates a good run. Almost tiptoes his way to a touchdown there. Okay, we can see it from the tight here. I don't really know what we have tags and what we call this scheme. I've heard a lot of people call it claw. I've seen that pop up a lot lately. Claw counter. Um, we kind of really just call it same side counter. Um, but here, like I said, different way to run the same play. And this is a pretty good job here by everybody involved. Okay. And then lastly here, I know I talked basically all about the run game there. I just wanted to touch upon this stuff as well. Just because a lot of, like I said earlier, is okay, that was great, right? You just gave us a whole idea of what to do in the run game, how we can create different angles, all that stuff. But you put your tight end in the B gap, how is he going to get out in the pass game, right? Or how can we create other things out of this, right? Well, you can work your pass protection, right? You can work six-man pro with typical six-man pro using the tight end and getting the running back out in space, which is really good for us as well because like I was saying, trying to find your athletes to get in space. This guy, in theory, as the running back, should be a lot more athletic than this guy, right? So if we can get him in space and use him as a pass protection guy, we will. Okay, so that's one way to do it. You can get your seven-man pro by leaving both of those guys in there, getting three out. Okay, and then there's also you can just go regular six-man pro, and then we'll sneak this guy out at times as well. Okay, so here. Kind of what we've talked about in our fan schemes and how we protect the run, okay, how we are protecting the pass here, right? You'll see at the top of the screen, tight end is responsible for that -1 that we were talking about in this protection. Okay, so it's just like the fan scheme we were talking about earlier. We're IDing here. The tight end is -1 to 2. Okay, -1 doesn't show up. He gets his eyes back out to the threat and he picks it up, right? Creates a clear pocket for the quarterback. It's a really good job by him not just falling in love with the fact that his linebacker's not coming. He goes and looks for work. His eyes, you can see how they transition from 1 to 2, right? Gets his feet back in the ground. And right here, he doesn't bite the cheese. He doesn't just run upfield on this guy. He makes him run the hump, and we stay inside out to create a clean pocket. All right, really good job by the quarterback here. This is the stuff that you can't really coach up of just running out there and throwing a good pass. All right, athletes in space, let the athletes do the work. We'll protect for them. Okay, right here you can see it. 40 doesn't come. Who else can we find for work? There he is. I'm inside out. I wash him upfield, create that clean pocket for the quarterback. Okay. Here's another one, right? So now we just talked about the off the ball alignment, right? The typical alignment for the tight end. Now we got him in the B gap. He might even be in the A gap here, right? Now his guy is showing. This is really good for mug teams. You can create seven-man pro out of this. You can create seven-man pro out of this with both of the backer or the back and the tight end in protection, right? Like I said, you can try to get him out in the flat with some speed, or you could just get them both out really by sneaking this guy through as well. Okay, so here his backer doesn't come. He's in the protection. He does a really good job of helping to find work. And like I said, this will keep you a clean pocket. So really good job by this tight end here, right? He notices his guy doesn't come. His eyes go back inside. And then look at that pocket for the quarterback. All right, off a seven-man pro, off of the B gap alignment, A gap alignment. All right, and obviously we wish we hit that one. windy day up here in Albany. All right, right here, he sees it. He gets that interior alignment. Great job here working his way back in protection. Right. And you can notice too, like even when he leaves, his eyes are still on his guy because he knows he's inside out, but he's going to go give help because this guy's bailing. Really good job by him here. Okay. So there's that. And then now, like I was talking about earlier, well, coach, you got your pass pro, you got your run. That's all well and good, but how do I get my tight end into a route from that alignment? Well, here you go, right? Especially when they're bringing pressure, they think the same thing that everyone else was just saying, or what I was saying that everyone else thinks, right? There's your pressure. Who's got the tight end, right? Especially off of play action, you could create a whole litany of plays through play action just by having him in the B gap there. You can still run your split flow, you can run your nakeds, you can run your boots, you can do anything you want out of that alignment. Right. And this is just a simple, hey, let's just leak them out here to the flat. We're first and 15. We pick up 10, maybe even more, maybe 12, getting us into a second and very manageable. They're using the B gap. Right. Now, obviously, this is a little bit difficult. I won't lie about that and how to sneak out there, but we really never had any issues with it. Right. The guards knew the tight end was in there. It didn't really phase them. We told them, we'll get out of your way. Don't worry about us. We'll get out of your way. Oh, okay. And that's kind of pretty much all I have. I hope that helps some of you with what you're trying to do and how you're trying to create an advantage through the tight end. Um, And then I hope that if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out now, but reach out to me anytime because I love talking about this stuff and I'm a big believer in it.
That was great, Brendan. I appreciate it. Great job tonight, and learned a lot. So that was phenomenal.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to have you guys on here and glad to be talking football.
All
Good to be
right,
back.
thanks,
Hey, real
Brendan.
quick, what's the best way for people to watch after the fact to reach out with questions?
For me, you can shoot me a DM on Twitter. I know I got tagged. I think that's probably the best way right now, and then we can exchange contact info that way. I'm pretty active on that as well, so if you feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, and I'll get back to you pretty quick.
Do you
What was
tell
that Twitter handle?
It's at underscore coach underscore Smith. It's a little confusing because you got a couple Smiths out there, so I had to change the handle up a little bit.
Hey, that works. All
Um,
right, thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.